Got my coffee here. So good. So yummy. Okay, well, let's get started. So yesterday I was talking about the perception of the dimensional time dimensions, all that kind of stuff, and really having people understand or being able to communicate what we see is happening right now. Good morning, Nicole. How are you? So we know that there are some major changes that are occurring. We understand that. We see it happening around us. We see it in the external, and it's really driving our internal essence, right, closer to what it is that we want to create in, again, the material world. Our divine birthright, our experiences, how we navigate it. There is a distinction between the stellar body and the human body, and also understanding these systems, right, which we call the chakra systems, and recognizing and identifying that there are different levels that you go through. And I was sort of looking at the charts and the models for that and saying that, yes, we have the chakra system within our body, but there's more than just one part happening because we are dense and complex, right? We have our mental state, right, which is our mind. And then we have the physical body. The essence of the spirit or God, good morning, Nisha, that exists within us is everlasting. So it's always there. It's the full potentiality. It's God in motion, and it's the energy that can come through us. Now, the other two parts, right, are the mind and the body. And the mind and the body trigger a response in emotion. And the emotional could be another body if you wanted to see it that way. I sort of put the mind and the body into one thing, and the emotion I feel is a result of the mind and the body coming together. So I don't know if it's another body, could be. Just depends on how you want to view it. We get to, if we are to transcend time space, clear out both of those systems using an understanding of the chakra system. Why the chakra system? Because it was created in ancient times. It's connected to all of our hormones, right? Like all the different pieces of our hormones. We know that the hormones sort of control, they can actually shift our DNA, RNA, that kind of stuff. And it can cause us stress, right? If we had too much cortisol in our blood system streaming through our body, we can get really sick because of the stress levels that we're at. So there's different layers, okay? Now, this is not just woo-woo stuff. This is stuff that the body actually, it happens in our body. Our body is a mechanism that's functioning in this space-time, right? It's a vessel that's moving around. So internally, understanding what is going on at the subconscious level. And that's sort of what I talked about kind of yesterday, understanding what needs to be healed at the subconscious level for you. So just asking yourself again, what's going on in the subconscious level? How do I get to the subconscious level? Why do I keep experiencing the same patterns and time loops? How do I maneuver out of it? What is it that's driving me to continue to operate in an automatic state, right, at the subconscious level to get the same results that I'm seeing on the external world? So this is all about what's happening internally and how is it executed on the external? How does it show up on the external world? What characters are showing up? What people are surrounding me? What conversations am I having? What am I paying attention to? What are the activities that I'm engaging in? All of those things. So it's every single thing. Now, why? Because we want to transcend and we want to relieve or learn how to deal with the suffering of being in this space-time, because our physical bodies are perfectly imperfect. They're not going to last forever. We understand that everybody has an expiration date on the body, okay? But we can maintain our health and our well-being in our body if we understand how it's connected and tied to the spiritual realm, how it's connected to our mental space, how the subconscious mind can impact our body. There's a book called As a Man Thinketh. I've read it so many times. And it's just a really good book talking about how our thoughts shape our behaviors. And we know this, like you guys know this. But there's a deeper level in terms of how the body triggers the response in the chakra systems, because they will support us in actually healing our bodies, our mental states, and all that stuff. So releasing some of those stories that have been bound that were there from when we were kids. Some people have the ability to go back to the womb, to understand the trauma that may have happened even in the womb of their mother's belly. Like, I went through trauma. I know that. Okay. The environment wasn't the best environment. It was very toxic. And as I was growing up, the environment up until I was about 4 was very toxic. And there was triggered responses for understanding what was driving these automatic behaviors in my life, what I was seeing, and then going and diving deeper into the subconscious mind and saying, okay, this is why. Like, I know who I am. I know God resides within me. I understand I have a connection with God, all these things. But still, the results on the external were showing up distorted in some ways. And I was like, well, what's going on? Why is this showing up? Oh, because I get to heal. I get to dive deeper into the essence of who I am. Once you know who you are, good morning, Sandra. Once you understand who you are, once you're 100% clear, like, I know who I am, and you know who you are at the macrocosm and the microcosm, and you marry the two, which is called the consummation, right, of the two. Once you're able to do that, the healing starts to progress. You start to heal progressively. And it's amazing how fast the healing goes, right? Because God is all great. We know that the healing can happen overnight. So the healing happens when we understand who we are. Good morning, Tony. Now, the emotional state and the mental state of our being, right, our understanding, is that we look deeper, 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 deeper. We heal those lessons by not judging them. Now, I've told you guys about the 3 mirrors. This is a great opportunity. If you're working on these chakra systems, these roots, are these old stories are showing up for you, and you're trying to understand how to heal the past that you haven't let go of 100% yet, right? Is that you look at the subconscious mind, you look at the stories, and you allow yourself to surrender to it, which I've talked about before. If you don't get rid of it, it's not like you're going to get rid of this stuff. It's still there. It's always going to show up. But to understand the trauma that might have happened for you, or the upset, or the disappointment, or the I'm not worthy, and the stories that you've created around it to keep you stuck there, is to look at the 3 mirrors, right? First mirror is understanding that it's a trigger for you. Like, if you see somebody who triggers that in you, recognizing, oh yeah, it's because I have it in me. 2, it's like, am I judging it? Am I judging the people that maybe harmed me, or that I felt harmed me, or that inflicted pain and suffering upon me, right? And saying, am I judging it? And can I forgive it? And how do I forgive it? And what does that look like? And then you can use the last mirror of where the trauma came from. Now, neutrality is super critical for this, right? In order to allow yourself to heal the chakras as you move up, is saying, okay, I can be neutral. I can forgive. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have the story show up again and again and again, because they will. They always do. It's part of the programming. It's part of who you are. And that's part of what makes you beautiful. And it could be the most powerful, good morning, Dennis, the most powerful energy that you arise within your lower chakra systems to be able to use that fire, the will, and they call it the will of God, right? Fire energy is divine will in action. Fire energy could be pride on the ego end. But when we learn to use that fire internally and we draw it up and out. That's divine will. It's the will of God, right? It's our divine will to do something better for ourselves, for humanity, for whatever it is. So as you're healing yourself and you're understanding the healing aspect of it, it's going deeper into the subconscious mind. You can use the mirrors. There's other processes you can use. You don't have to just use the mirror. Use whatever you want, whatever is going to support you. And then draw it up and out. And then the next time that it shows up, you get to go through the process again. Now, I can tell you for myself, okay, what I went through to actually learn how to transmute energy. And it's by the stories we tell ourselves. So I had a story about my sister, okay? And the story was that she just didn't like me. That was my story. And I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And I went through a process and I understood that it was just a story. And the reality is, it was my story that was keeping me conflicted in this thing. Things that she didn't say, just the feeling, the energy. And I said, okay, so how do I change the story? How can I change the story that's going to serve me so that I can move forward? Because otherwise you get stuck in a time loop is what I was talking about. Your mind plays these conversations over and over, and it keeps you from focusing on your God self, your birthright, or God in general. It'll keep your mind caught up. And that's okay. If you want your mind to be caught up, that's fine. But if you're looking to heal these pieces, right? Healing comes through God, through God's blessing. And it happens, and we've seen it, and there's studies, and I've even read like these articles, peer-reviewed articles, where you have people who meditate on the healing of others and all this stuff, and that's God in motion, that's God in action, healing what other people think they can't heal. And then it happens, and people are like, whoa, the doctors are like, whoa, how did this happen, right? They don't have a scientific understanding, because you can't scientifically, you can use science to describe God, but that's not God, right? It's just a description. So there's things that we can't describe, that there are no words for, things that we can't understand. But the healing does come when we're able to do the work and look at ourselves a little bit deeper. So getting to the subconscious mind, asking yourself these things and dealing with the traumas. Now, there may be traumas there that you don't even realize are in operation. That happens. A trauma came up for me that it was still there and I had no clue. It just came up. I mean, I was okay with the situation. I was like, I forgive it. I'm okay. But it was still there, and it was stuck in my root chakra at the very base. And boom, when it came up and I was able to heal that space, everything started to shift. Okay. And I'm talking about my digestion. I'm talking about everything. My stomach, everything started to circulate better. So a lot of the time, it's not everything that we feel. So I would say, like, if you have some illness or whatnot, may not be driven from, the pain and suffering that, or the trauma that you've had since you were a child. Could, like, if I don't know, hit my leg or fell down, like that, or something like that. Or if I was exposed to maybe a toxic environment of like pollution and stuff like that, and my lungs were hurting and I was around smoke my whole life, all that kind of stuff, that's a little different. But I'm talking about these other things that we do. These other things we do to ourselves to make ourselves sick. And it's really stress. It's the stress, it's the anxiety, it's the frustration, it's the stuff that we keep in that gets us sick, doesn't move up. And, before you know it, we're having digestion issues and we're having all these things that are just entangled in us. So to release that, we have to be able to deal with the mental part of it and understand what emotions we've attached to certain stories. So the stories that have happened, or the trauma that has happened, has a story attached to it. That story, if it's toxic, will start to pollute the body. It attaches itself and then it feeds off of it, right? So how do we say, okay, no more? Like, I'm going to just tell myself a different story. And every time it comes up and now, I'm going to tell myself that different story every time. Now, again, it takes practice. And it's not going to be one day like, okay, today I feel great and I got that da da da. And then like next week it just creeps up again and you weren't ready for it. And you're like, oh God. So the results keep showing up the same way. Well, then it's a practice every single day to heal. And I would try, if I were you, totally up to you. Again, always, this is suggestive. You don't have to do anything I say, obviously, but try different methods of healing. I've done acupuncture. I've done crystal healings. I need to get back to acupuncture. But I've done all these different things, herbs and remedies. And then you find one that really, really works for you. And once that one works for you, start to utilize it and make it a practice for you. I use different methodologies. I don't just use one system. And all the systems that I use are not invasive and harmful. They're just very easy and easing my way through the process of healing, because we are all in healing all the time. There's no way we can't be, because our bodies are itself have to heal, because otherwise we just perish and that's it. But we don't. We keep repairing, ourselves keep repairing, everything keeps repairing itself over and over and over and over and over again. And we get to a certain age where it can't keep up, and that's why we actually perish. This body perishes, right? It goes away. Our spirit doesn't, but our body does. And the energy, or you want to call it energy, if you want to call it energy, spirit, energy, whatever, however you want to say it, goes away, but the energy stays. So repairing yourself, right? And why? For what purpose? What purpose to repair yourself? So that you can have experiences. We're here to merely experience God's miracle. And remember it. It's so beautiful. And everybody can experience it. And I'm sure you guys have. So watching God's miracle in action and experiencing and allowing ourselves the opportunity to experience new things. If we're stuck in old stories, if we're at the subconscious level and we can't let go of stuff, we sell ourselves short on opportunities or seizing opportunity. That's what can happen. When something great shows up, we just reject it. Or we don't even see it because we're so caught up in the stories that are not serving us. So find the stories that aren't serving you. Try to shift the stories so that you can then have more time witnessing God's miracle. The stories will hold us back. So depending on the story. So again, I'm releasing a lot of trauma myself, right? I'm doing this for myself, right? I never tell people or ask people to participate in anything that I myself am not doing. Everything that I speak of is because I'm actually working through it as well. And I'm working through some of the dynamics of family trauma that go back probably, I don't know how long, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I'd imagine that there were things that were going on in my family that I don't know about, that were not so nice, that were not so good. And I feel the results of that have drained out into the rest of the family. And it's sort of like going backwards. It's healing myself so that the structure can just, like a mandala, it could just kind of spread out and everybody around starts to heal naturally, because the DNA or the trauma or the linkage of the trauma around a particular situation will start to untangle. So everybody has it. Nobody gets away from it. And it's a journey. You guys know that. It takes time. It's a day at a time. It's patience. It's practice. It's being gentle with yourself. It's understanding that it's okay that we all have it. Everybody does on this particular space-time. And as we transcend into a new space-time, we start to get lighter because we're dealing with the traumas. We're allowing ourselves to open up and be vulnerable and release the suffering that was internal to us for, you know, and giving it back to God and letting it heal us from the inside out, from the inside out. The inside out, which is the mind first. The subconscious mind has to get healed in order for us to release those stories that are causing pain in our body, which could be chronic pain, but allowing ourselves to heal around that. So that's what I give to you guys is, you know, healing that I ask that God heals, you know, the people, everyone. That's it. Just everybody gets healing. You know, I just sometimes wish that I could take all the suffering away and just put it in me and then just, but I know that's not how it works. Not here. And I just would love to see people living their best life. That's all. Period. In love with life, and so in love with life that you experience the joys and the pleasures of everything that's good and kind and beautiful and joyful without condition, just free, without the chains. That's my wish, my prayer for you. That you can just open up your arms and surrender, open up your heart, allow yourself to just let go and let God completely, fully, wholly. That is my prayer for you. And when we're able to do that and we're able to open up our hearts and we're able to just surrender and allow that to move through us, right, without condition. I mean, we feel it in our bodies, right? So I'm closing my eyes now because I know what that feels like, to feel it in my heart. Like my heart just feels joyful and happy and light and radiant. And the feeling and sensation allows my body to feel like euphoric, right? The whole entire body, the system feels euphoric. And I think we want to feel that state all the time, all day, every day, but it's not possible, I don't think, in this three-dimensional space-time. Why? Because we're here. We're too dense material. But we can get there together, all of us. It's okay to send the mean face. Maybe there's something subconsciously there that you need to work out. No, just kidding, Tony. So just surrender, opening up our heart space, and then allowing ourselves to just receive the miracle of God through us, through the spirit, through our heart, through our belly, through every part of every cell that vibrates in our body, to feel the joy. Because I literally, when I did Kundalini energy, I told you guys, there was a point where every single cell in my body was like, thank you. I could hear it. Like everything was vibrating. It was like, whoa. But to get there took months and months and months and months of practice of like just being, my diet was on point, my breathing, my Kundalini breath work every single morning. It was like I was on point. And was it easy to maintain? No. I could have continued to maintain it, but that would mean that I'd have to go out to the wilderness by myself and live by myself. And that's not my divine purpose, to be by myself. My divine purpose is to leave a legacy of wisdom, to support people in actually remembering who they are. You guys are powerful. You guys are God in motion. And every time you think you're not, just give it back to God. Ask God to support you through the healing process. Become the I am a healer. I am healed. I am healing. Like I am healing, not just internally, but the spaces around me are healing because I'm healing. Like embodying that to the umpteenth degree of I am healing. And this is going to get healed. Why? Because God said so, because God will provide healing because I am healing. That's where we get to the I am statement. Embody it, be it. Or you don't have to be healing, but I'm healing right now. It could be I am love. I am love also. I am healing. I am love. Marry those two. Boom. I'm a love healer. I'm healing through love. Love is healing through me. I am. You can be abundant if it's resources. I am abundant. I am abundance. So there's these different ways of like describing the I am. One is I am abundant, like I'm going to receive abundance. And the other one is I am abundant, like I'm already abundant, like I already have it. It's abundance. Like there's everything around is abundance, right? And that's the power right there. Same thing with the I am healing. But the process of the stories is just to remind you, we get amnesia here, like over and over again. We forget who we are in just a second like that. We're like, what? Who are we again? And so we bring ourselves back to God over and over again to remember who we are and allow ourselves to go through a process. Now, the process is important. Understanding your own process is what's going to get you back, because sometimes we get so lost, we don't know how to get back. And the way we get back is through the process. It's almost like breadcrumbs, okay, like Hansel and Gretel, except that's probably not a good example because I think they did breadcrumbs and then so it's not the best example. Using something that's not going to get eaten, but leaving the breadcrumbs to get you back. What are the breadcrumbs? So sometimes the breadcrumbs, like for me, I was like, okay, the breadcrumb is understanding that my heart is the transmutation center. So I'm going to bring myself to the heart and start to breathe when I'm having this experience that I don't understand. But I understand breath, and I know that that can bring me back. It's a breadcrumb. Or I'm going to meditate because I understand that meditation allows me to release the mental stuff that's coming up for me. That's a breadcrumb. We could call it practices, but we can also call it breadcrumbs to get us right back to God over and over again. Because we're like, well, God, it's not showing up. Yeah, but are you doing your practices to get back there? Are you just wanting things to automatically look beautiful? Like this work is not easy. I have a friend who showed up ready to do the work, said, I want God. I said, okay, I'll take you on as a student. Totally took him on as a student. Then they're like, yeah, I didn't realize how deep this went. And also, when I prayed to God, I didn't realize that God was really going to show up. And I said, well, yes. That's what happens. It's not easy. And you're dealing with a lot of junk that shows up because that's what it is. And you have to remind yourself that you're God over and over and over again. I'm God in motion. God is with me. God is, because then you have these people yelling in your face, or you have people cutting you off in traffic, or you have people yelling at you, and you have all this weird stuff. And then you have fights with your siblings, or fights with your family, fights with it. And you're like, I don't know what to do. How do I? And then how do I get back to the peace and the harmony? Breadcrumbs. Focus on yourself, focus on your practices, the things that help you get back to God so that there's peace and harmony again. Start to heal yourself a little bit. And before you know it, you start to see it start to radiate out into the family, which is beautiful. I see it in my family already. There's healing around my family, right? Everything is starting to heal. My sister's healing. My mom is healing. My father is healing. I am healing. But not because I asked him to, but because I focused on myself to heal. And I said, I am healing. I am. So give yourself breadcrumbs, okay? and work your way back. And it's okay if like you fall off and all this stuff. It's funny because even the practitioner, and I'm going to call us practitioners at this point. I have one practitioner right now, and the one practitioner I'm working with, like, I'm like, we don't have to be in spiritual practice 24/7. We're always contemplating God, yes, but sometimes you've got to learn to, or don't, but if you learn to transmute the energy to exist in this dimensional time space to support others in their healing process, right? But also connect to your spiritual realm when you got to heal yourself, and understanding how to bridge the gap between the two. If you're just focusing on healing yourself right now, right, that would mean that you get to just look at yourself. Just look at yourself. Just bring it to yourself. You're not selfish for it. I know people get this all the time. I've heard this from clients, other people. Oh, well, then it was selfish if I, focus on myself. If I focus on me. And that's selfish. And then there's all these other people. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But when you start to focus on yourself and heal yourself, now you have enough energy to support other people. But until your cup is full, you can't share it. There's nothing to share. It's like trying to share water with an empty cup. You can't. Your thirst is still there, right? So we fill our cup with God and all this energy stuff, and then we can expand it out. Like, I have to take pauses back for myself too, to restore. Is that selfish? No. I have to be able to be good if I'm going to be good for the world. How can I be good for anything if I'm not good for myself? So it's okay to take those breaks. I've said this a million times too, but I have to remind myself. I'm reminding myself every time I say this stuff. Anyway, I'm talking to myself too when I say all this stuff as well, just so you know. All right. So again, healing, or whatever it is you're working on, abundance, love, joy, freedom, whatever it is, the I am, whatever the I am you're working on is. Allow yourself to get the breadcrumbs to come back to God over and over again, to experience and understand that you are God in motion, and that this 3-dimensional time space is a perception of God, but not fully God. It's like the hologram, right? It's like coming through, and that every part of it is God, but we're only seeing a certain part of God in this time space. When we come back to the source, we could see all. Okay. So I hope that helps. Always here to help, of course. So I love you guys. Have the best day ever. I believe it's Tuesday, if I'm correct. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. We're also hopefully going to be launching something really cool. It's called A Minute. It's the individual that I'm working with. And we're working together. We're actually teaching each other, because it's not a one-sided thing, right? But believe he will be actually coming on live to do, it's called A Minute for Mindset, and it's just a 60-second little thing that you guys can listen to. So hopefully we'll get videos up as well, but pretty cool. I'm pretty excited that Spirit and Coffee seems to have it's not just a one show. Woo-woo. I don't want it to be, right? I want to expand. I want everyone to get involved if they want. Everybody's welcome to be a part of this. You guys are mi familia. Even if it's just one person, and then one person listening, you're still my family, okay? And everybody who's not listening, my family. But you guys are welcome to get involved in any way that you'd like. You can email me, spiritandbrew@gmail.com. And I think as we dive deeper, we see less and less people, which is fine. Quality over quantity. And it's just about giving back and hopefully supporting those individuals who are on their path, and maybe they pick up some nuggets from this. Maybe there's something there where they go, aha, and maybe not. And that's okay too. Either way. So, okay, I love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Love you, bye.